I'll share something with you guys that's very personal. Monday, an officer was shot in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, and he was murdered. And one of my big passions is being very pro-law enforcement. And I know a lot of people aren't pro-law enforcement. But here's where I stand up for those officers and say, where there's one bad cop, there's 50 good cops who aren't in the media. Not all cops are going to do some of these dumb things that are happening right now. Like the cops in Chicago that had the picture of that man wearing the horns. How stupid was that? I mean, really? You can't base a whole profession off of that. A lot of my friends are cops. And, a lot of my friends are also military. Anybody who wears a badge, or I don't want to say a badge, anybody who has to wear a metal plate over their heart so they can try to come home safely to their family has a huge amount of respect for me. I've run into cocky and arrogant law enforcement. I've run into cocky and arrogant military. I've run into cocky and arrogant firefighters. I've run into cocky and arrogant paramedics. I've run into cocky and arrogant bankers. They're everywhere. And I think that cops kind of get a bad rap sometimes for some of the crappy officers. But here's my philosophy on that. Nigel Benner was killed doing a traffic stop. He had 5 kids and grandbabies. He didn't deserve to die. He didn't deserve to die in the middle of a street by himself. The only thing he was trying to do was keep people safe. And you know what would have happened if he wouldn't have been killed? Those 2 guys, or that guy and the girl that shot him, could have went into your kid's school and shot somebody. They could have shot a bunch of people up at a park or at a movie theater. Shit happens. But I would rather have law enforcement on my side and have these good officers and have them know that they're appreciated than, think about some of the crappy officers. For example, I hate to bring this up, APD's Boyd shooting. There's a lot of negative media about this. I get it. I understand. Honestly, and being a law enforcement family, like when I hear some of these stupid things that some people do, I'm just like, dang it. But there's also stupid things that firefighters do. And there's stupid things like Bernie Madoff stole billions of dollars from people. Really? I don't see New York rioting because of Bernie Madoff, I guess. And I don't know. I hope that if you're watching this video, look up Nigel Benner from Rancho PD. Look up Joe Harris from Sandoval County PD. Carrie, who was murdered in Omaha, she was like 5 hours away from bringing her baby home from the hospital and going on maternity leave for 3 months. She was shot and killed that day. So the next time, you see a law enforcement officer and he pulls you over, 9 times out of 10, you're probably doing something wrong. Don't get sassy. I mean, I get pulled over, and I'm a law enforcement family. They know me. They pull me over. And half the time, I've gotten tickets. If you're speeding, you're speeding. What do you expect somebody that's trying to do their job to do? Because I guarantee you, if you're ever in an accident, or you're ever being assaulted, or someone's trying to murder you, that cop will show up at your house, and he or she will protect you. So, take the media sometimes with a grain of salt, because I'm here to tell you, they're not always giving you the whole story. They're giving you the sensationalized story that makes headlines and gets viewers. I'm not going to go into Ferguson. I'm not going to go into Baltimore. Just, think twice before you say, fuck the police or things like that, because they're my family. And like Nigel, it just tears at my heart because he had a family and he was taken away from his family and he was taken away from our community, and he didn't need to be taken away from our community. Now, I think his candle memorial that we went to on Tuesday was probably one of the best candle memorials I'd ever been to, because the chaplain said something that just really resonated with me, because I am trying not to cry because my mascara is not waterproof. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I question God when I see like my friend battling leukemia for the 2nd time. I question why Joe Harris was killed. I question why Nigel Benner was killed. I question why Carrie in Omaha was killed. I question a lot of things because, to me, they don't need to die. No one needs to die. So, I went to Nigel's candle memorial on Tuesday, very conflicted. And the chaplain was speaking, and he said something that made me get it. He said, you know, officers die protecting us. And, you know, they protect the community, they protect their citizens, they protect everything. And, you know, they weren't sure the turnout that was going to happen at this memorial because of all the anti-law enforcement things. And there's a lot of people there, honestly. I mean, the citizens of Rio Rancho, that was the first time since I moved from Michigan to here that I've actually felt like a sense of community. You know, the chaplain just put it kind of into perspective for me more. I get it. I don't like it. But I guess, you know, when I'm talking about, you know, that book, I Am That Girl, and, like, finding your calling and finding things and, you know, being passionate. And, it's actually really hard for me to talk about. I guess, like, I look at things like that, and, you know, like the Rio officer that was just killed, Benner. And I just hope that, you know, people are starting to stop and think and realize that, you know, law enforcement are here to do a job. And, you know, being policed by military is not going to be any better. I know there are people who are very anti-law enforcement who, you know, want us to be policed by military. It's not going to be any better, trust me. So I guess, you know, what I'm just asking you guys to do is, one, if you want to read the book, read the book. But two, you know, stop and thank a cop. Because, you know, they're doing a hell of a job with just absolutely no media support whatsoever. You know, the only time the media wants to talk about law enforcement is when somebody does something wrong. And that's not fair. Because the good cops and the cops that do their job every single day don't want to be in the media. They just want to do their job and they want to go home to their family and they want to wake up for another day. You know, a prime example is there's this one officer who was, sorry, this video is going to go very pro law enforcement, FYI. There was an officer that does these like motorcycle vlogs, and he was talking about, he was involved in a shooting in California in like 1979, I think is what it was. And it was the Cleveland elementary school shooting. He was the officer that was shot in the neck. He was shot in the neck with a .22. He was shot in the neck, still saved people. And at the end of it, when they finally put him in the ambulance because he passed out, he went back to doing his job. He went back to being a cop after he was just shot in the neck. He was literally like forced to retire because he said this quote, and it made me laugh, that it was cheaper for them to retire him than to keep fixing him. That's the officers that need to be out there. Those are the officers that should be in the media, but they're not because they're highly respected. You know, and they don't do their job to get in the media. They do their job because they love their job. Moral of the video is, one, don't talk smack about cops to me. And two, you know, think before, you know, you hop on this anti-law enforcement bandwagon. And, you know, not all cops are scary, not all cops are bad. I was talking to this girl at the bank, and, I remember what she said. Now, she said something, and I was like, yeah, you know, I know a lot of cops. And she's like, yeah, people don't like cops, and she's like, because they're so arrogant. And I'm like, really? I'm pretty sure every time I've been pulled over, I did something wrong. Actually, funny story before I let you guys go. I was pulled over by an EPD officer because I forgot to register my car. For like 2 years. And I was speeding. And I couldn't find my proof of insurance. Yeah, I was like the dream clientele that day. He pulls me over. He's a motorcycle cop, which motorcycle cops are my favorite kind of cops. And he, let me give you some tips about what if you get pulled over. If you get pulled over, keep your hands on your steering wheel. don't start messing with your purse and getting into your console, because you know what? Cops have died and getting shot by people who are pulling guns out of their console. You know, there's a thought. Maybe you don't want to do that. Keep your hands on your wheels. So he walks up and he asked me, you know, if he knew why he pulled me over, and I was like, well, I'm assuming it's because I was speeding. And he's like, yeah, speeding. And then he looked at my tag and he's like, do you realize you haven't registered your car since 2013? And I was like, well, shit. Nope. And he asked me for my license registration. Another tip. Tell the officer, hey officer, I have to reach into my purse to get my license and my registration. Just so you know. And you know what? The officer is probably going to be like, phew, this girl isn't going to reach in her purse and pull out a .45 and pop me. So you reach into your purse, you pull out your license and your registration, and you hand them to the officer, and you be pleasant. And you treat them with respect. Because 9 times out of 10, you are probably speeding. And if you're nice, and if you're very respectful, they may not say you were doing 15 miles an hour over. They may say you're only doing 10. Guess what? It saves you $50, depending on what state you're in. Now, if your registration and your proof of insurance is in your glove box, you say, hey, Mr. Officer, I have to reach into my glove box to get my license or my registration and my insurance. And they're going to say, okay, and they're going to watch you, possibly with their hand on their gun, because they don't know if you're going to pull out a .45. And you're going to pull out your registration, and you're going to hand it to them with a smile. How hard is that? You don't have to be a dick. You don't have to be a jerk to them. Because 9 times out of 10, if you're nice, they'll be nice back to you. Even if you weren't speeding. You know, let's say you weren't speeding. Or let's say you're doing like 5 miles an hour over. They may pull you over just to be like, hey, do you realize you're doing 5 miles an hour over? And if you say, no, I didn't, you know, sorry about that, I probably should slow down. They may say to you after they run your registration and your license, and if you don't have a warrant, they may say to you, slow down, good day. All you gotta do, just be nice. I mean, yeah, there's gonna be some officers out there that take their job very, very, very seriously. You'll probably get a ticket, but you know what? Maybe you shouldn't have been speeding. Just my thought. So, anyways, sorry this video got a little rambly, but I just think that it's something that, you know, Benner's death is just been a little difficult, and I think, you know, reading this book at the same time, you know, kind of going back to mentors and listening to that chaplain at his memorial just really kind of put things into perspective for me. So, yeah. Anyway, sorry this video was so rambly. I hope you enjoyed my review, and I hope you enjoyed my thoughts and kind of me getting a little bit more personal in this video than normally what I am. Honestly, if you're going to leave an anti-law enforcement comment, it will be deleted and you'll be blocked. I'm not even going to mess around with that. You can tell me you don't like my glasses, you can tell me my lipstick smudged, my lips are uneven, whatevs. Don't bash my family. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe.